Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our first of 5 webinars we'll be hosting to tell everybody all about the exciting new enhancements and service announcements we'll be rolling out over the months of May and June. This is our first one again. We announced all of these at our annual user conference in Vegas last week and are now rolling them out piece by piece, starting with automation and controls. We actually rolled these out on Monday and explained them in a blog, which I'll link to momentarily just in case you haven't seen it. And now we're going to demonstrate it in today's webinar. My name is Leah Kelly. I'm here with Elizabeth Sontag. Elizabeth is going to lead the way here, but before she gets started, I have to just give my usual housekeeping spiel. So please know that the webinar will be recorded and sent to you afterwards in about 24 hours. You'll get it in your email. So if you get interrupted for any reason or you'd like to review it later, share it with someone, you can do all of those things. And then also you can submit your questions at any time throughout the presentation. You may do so using the text box under the questions section in your GoToWebinar panel. We'll try to get to them as you ask them, but if we're not able to, we'll get to them at the end. So you'll get your questions answered one way or the other. And that's it for me, Elizabeth, whenever you're ready.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really excited that you guys joined us for this webinar today. All of these items we did roll out at our user conference. We thank everybody that attended. When we did this rollout, we also got some really great feedback from our attendees, and we have taken some of that, and we are in the process of making those work through the system. So I'm going to address those kind of as we go through. But today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to go through automation and controls. What we're going to talk about first is orientation prep, which are forms that are available through the system for free. We're also going to talk about request signature, exchange request. We're going to talk about both of the controls on how to make these items work, a new item in the system called Worklist Filter, and a tool for Application Center. So we're going to dive right in, and we are going to talk about orientation prep. So what we're doing with the orientation prep is you have the ability to use these 3 free forms. These forms are triggered off of an orientation date that you set within the system. And we've noticed that about 90% of our clients have access to an orientation date. So there's no need to change your process to make this automation work. With the forms going out, you can select either the W-4 and the I-9 or the W-9 and the I-9. You get to select one set of these to go out. So this is an out-of-the-box option for you that you can go in and select one option or the other. You may run into a couple of things that you may see just as a heads up. If you do not have an orientation date tag, if you have these forms in another course or class outside of this, you will run into a box here that will not allow you to turn on the automation because they're outside of that feature. But 95% of people should be able to use this, and it's one less piece of paper at orientation. These forms do include the validation, so it makes sure that the driver has completed it, and they're easier to read. So if you would like to add any additional forms, or if you have anything on top of this that you would like to send out, just reach out to us and we can process that request. But for this automation process, it does include these 3 forms for free. So if you're not using forms today, this is a great way to get started and be able to take advantage of these free options in the system. One other thing that we rolled out at the user conference was auto request signature. Because minutes matter whenever you're doing your applications and trying to onboard your drivers. Now, if you do an update to an application and add an employment or a school, the system can do the work for you when that update is done and trigger a request for a signature for that employment or school. You have the ability to select what statuses that automation would occur in. So if you have a driver that's been terminated, for example, and you update the application, it would not send out the request. But if you have a driver in active or recruiting or any status along those lines, you could choose which statuses move over and would trigger that status to go, or that request to go. There's also a wait time between sending multiple requests. So if you update the application and you still forgot one and you go and update again, you can select a time frame between those and say, I want to wait an hour or 30 minutes or whatever it may be in the drop-down. That way you're not bombarding the driver with requests for updates. So this helps to make the hiring process easier and quicker, and it also is easy for new users to adopt through the system. Our next new feature is Exchange Request. We have set up so that you can get requests out the door quicker. One of the things that is to be noted in this is for any kind of smaller trucking company that may not be in the public directory, those still have to be done manually. So you'll have to go in and add them to your private directory. But then once they're in there, you don't have to add them again, and they can fall under the auto requesting for exchange. We think that by starting earlier in the process, you get the results back quicker and it's saving time. And based on what we've seen, we think, depending on the client, that we can automate about 35 to 40% of initial verification requests. What comes with auto requesting is auto resend as well. So if you make a request, whether you use the auto or not, you can turn on auto resends. And we think about 75% of the resends can be automated through the system. So you would let the system do the work and send out the resends. Now, talking about the smaller companies, the smaller trucking companies that you've added to your private directory, once they've been added and you've made a request, those will go out with the automation, so you don't have to go in and resend those as well. So with this, we're trying to help you to get the attempts out quicker, out the door. And often processors get very busy and they can't go in and do their resends until late in the afternoon. But with this the resends will go out earlier in the morning. That helps you to shorten the time that the resends are sent, and it gets the provided responses back quicker. And so those are just a couple of our features through the system. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to demo and show you where you can find the controls for this. So while this automation should work, we believe, for most of our clients, there are some that it will not. And the primary users have complete control over what's on and what statuses and events trigger the automation through the system. You can turn it on and off. And to get the value of the automation, you don't have to change your processes. There's no extra work required. So I'm going to switch over from my PowerPoint and I'm going to go into our system. The Express controls can be found when you click on your name and you click on Settings. And what you'll see is you have a box for controls and then you have a box for preferences. One thing I will note is that controls are done at a company level. Primary users have access to the controls. Every user has access to preferences, and preferences are set at a user level rather than at a company level. All users have access to their preferences. All primaries have access to controls, and that is company-wide. Now, if you have a user that's not a primary and you would like for them to have access to these controls, you can reach out to your account manager and they would add those for you. But the request does need to come from the primary user, and you can decide whether they have access to both Xpress and Xchange, or if they only need to have access to Xpress or Exchange, we have the ability to set that up as well. So we're going to talk about Express controls. In the automation, you're going to see that you have your setup for your Express controls. You have a toggle to turn it on or off, and then you have toggles to select which are the appropriate forms to set up. With Auto Request Feature, again, you have a toggle to turn it on or off, and you can select your status simply by clicking on it, and it will move it over. And then if we decide that we don't want to send it for pending, we can take pending away, and it will adjust it. Below that is your wait time between the requests. So we have options from 5 minutes all the way to 1 week. So you can set that delay on there as you would like. And it will hold all of the updates and then send those requests out once it meets that time frame. Now in Exchange controls, it's right below Express. We have some automation to help you with your auto resending and your auto requesting. So with your auto requesting, you will note that if you turn auto requesting on, it will always send out network, email, and fax methods. Those will go automatically through the system. Sometimes we know that it's easy, or it makes it easier to create a placeholder in the system, and sometimes it does not. So what you'll see below the information about the network and the email is the available methods that are available that you can send. So these will create placeholders in the system. It's important to note that if it's phone, fax, any of these that are available in the toggle, all it does is create a placeholder within the system. So in the past, you may have gone in and you may have created a request for something for other or for phone, so that you have a placeholder in the system that you could call and complete that verification. Well, the system can go ahead and create that for you, and then you can go ahead and call or go out to driver fax or the web or wherever it may be that you need to retrieve the request from, and then you already have a placeholder in the system to complete that. And then you can select what statuses would send the request over. So you've got what is created and when is it created. And those are triggered off of any of the given statuses that are over in the active status box. You have available statuses, and then you also have active status. So you kind of got to find that sweet spot for your request. You definitely don't want to select all status, and then you're just bombarded with requests that are coming back for drivers that may not return a call. So you want to go into the controls and make sure that they are set up correctly. We did put some default options in, but if you're a primary user, I would suggest to go and check all of these controls, just so that you can figure out which status works best to start this process or to resend the request. So the bottom section is about resend request. And so when you resend a request, it will continue to resend until it meets one of these three criteria. So when you're resending, you can say, I want it to resend up to 6 times, or I want the request to stop when the request is over 30 days old, or if a subject is moved into one of these disqualifying statuses, I want it to stop resending request. So you can control how often they are sent out, and then what triggering event would stop those requests from going out. Some of the feedback that we received at the user conference was talking about, I wouldn't want to send a request for a current employer. And so we are taking that advice, and we're going to add some additional toggles in here that allows you to choose whether it sends for the current employer or it does not send for the current employer. Also, with the auto sends, it does obey the do not contact flag. So if an applicant puts in do not contact on their current employer, it will not send that request out. So there's a little bit of stop in there, but it will obey those rules. Now for rollout time, you guys should see these controls available in your dashboard now. When it will start to send and resend is in the next couple of weeks. So auto resending will go next week, and then the auto requesting, I'm sorry, not next week, I'm sorry.
2 weeks.
I was jumping the gun a little bit there. The auto resends will go the week of the 13th. That will be turned live. And then the auto requesting will be turned live on the week of the 20th. So there are a couple of dates there for these. They're going to go at different times. We're going to start with the resending. So if you turn on the resending starting on the 13th, the system will do that work for you. If you turn on the auto requesting the week of the 20th, the system will take care of that for you as well. So keep those dates in mind. Make sure that you go and you check your controls. If you have any questions on the controls, just let us know. We're happy to help with anything.
Yeah, we've actually got a couple questions in here now. So I'm going to ask these. Let's see. So somebody's asking, when you create a phone app, if they add 4 employers, say 4 employers or however many, will the signature request automatically go out once the subject has been created?
That's a great question. Since it's a phone app, the auto signatures, they go out on an update. But what has happened in the last few days is that we have gone into Exchange and we've made it a little easier. When you go into Exchange, you'll see that there's an auto request button and there's a request signature. You can just click this button and it will send requests to the driver for signatures. So if they do not fall in the automation, you'll see that. One thing that you'll also see that's new in Exchange is over here where the pin is. If an auto signature has been requested, you'll see a clock that will pop up there. The clock will show you that there is a signature that you're waiting for, so you can see more in this Exchange filter and see what's coming back or what you have requested.
Thank you. And so how about this one? So some candidates don't want the request to be sent to their current employer before they get a job offer. So if auto requesting is used, does it auto send to the current job, or is there a way to?
Yeah, so that's some feedback that we also got from the user conference, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to put in a new control in the next week or so that will allow you to not send it to their current employer. So then it would skip the current employer and it would send everything beyond that. So thank you for the feedback at the user conference. We had a great time and there were some good suggestions that we got from it.
Good. Okay. And so again, for the auto exchange request, will it auto send to any carrier listed as do not contact? Is that the trigger? The trigger,
it will skip the current employer that says do not contact.
Okay. Great. Let me just run through these. I think you can go ahead and we'll ask other questions as we move on.
Okay. Well, since we're on this Exchange page, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Exchange refactor. So we had a couple of things that are updated into Exchange. To help keep the process quick, we've given you some more options. I'm actually going to find my person because I think they have a couple more employments. So bear with me while I pull that up. There we go. So I'm going to go to Process and Exchange. What you're going to see is it shows you all of the employment. You now have a couple of filters at the top where you can filter by the last employers in the last 3 years, 7 years, or all time. You can hide employment. So for instance, if you wanted to hide one of these employments, you can click the eyeball and it will hide it. You can show anything that's hidden, and you can click on the show or hide or unhide, and you can bring those right back. And so you just click the eyeball to be able to manage those. There's also a new filter that allows you to highlight duplicate requests. So for instance, if this company is on here multiple times, it will highlight those, and then you can manage those requests. And if you hide them, then they do disappear for you. So that changed in Exchange. You also have the request signature button that's here, and then you have an auto request signature. And this is a good item here. I sent out a request for a signature via an update or just request signature, and it's given me the clock here so that I know I'm waiting for a release to return for that employer. Okay. All right, so I am going to head over to our work list. Our work list is going to have a new filter. So both the new Exchange view is live now. This work list filter is also live now. So we know that minutes matter, and the recruiter's bandwidth is scarce. And so if somebody has submitted an IntelliApp, you want to get to them as quick as you can. So now you can filter your work list based on lead apps, and that's going to show you any lead apps that were completed in the last 30 days. You can also click Phone App, and that's going to filter and show you any IntelliApps that were completed within the last 30 days. So it's an easier way to get to all of those IntelliApps first, and then after you finish your IntelliApp work, you can skip over to your leads, and that will show you all of the leads. So previously there wasn't a way to filter in the work list, but this filter will show you those applications for the last 30 days. And this is live today, so you have the ability to use this today, all users. Okay, I'm going to go back over into our settings. And in our settings, we're going to go back to Express Control, and we're going to talk about a new feature that's called the Application Center. So one thing that people may not know is that every IntelliApp has a lead version, and we've heard that it's hard to discover those as well. And clients have had really great success from the landing pages in the job store. The landing pages give the driver the ability to go from a lead app to a full app with the population. And so we've given you a control and a center for you to be able to see all links to all applications. So if you have multiple applications, you'll be able to copy the link of that application. You can also view the IntelliApp just by clicking the button. It takes you right to it. You also can see your lead versions, so you can click the links for that as well. One of the new things that's in the App Center is because of the results that we've seen that are so good from the job store, we've expanded the landing pages. And so now it creates a landing page for every active job that you create within the system for free. So this tool allows you to view the page. So when I click on it, it's going to open up my landing page, and I can see exactly what it looks like and read through everything. And then if I need to edit anything, I can edit the profile, which takes me right into the company profile, and I have the ability to change any of this text. I'm going to add that we have a pet policy. I'm going to save the information and close out, and then I can go back to my landing page and I can see that that was added right here. It added pet policy. So it's a reactive and live tool to be able to use this App Center for the landing page. So you can put the landing pages anywhere that you want to drive traffic to. We did a little research, and I think over our customer base, there's about 7,000 active jobs in the system. So that means that there are 7,000 landing pages out there for the customers. So your landing page is your own. It's unique to your company. It's your active job. So it's not shared with any other companies, but you have access to everything. If you'd like to create a new active job, you can do it right from the tool as well, and you can click on create a landing page, and it will walk you through the steps and put some default data in so that you can manage your landing page. You also can copy the link to your landing page, and it does support referral codes. So if you have any kind of referral codes that you would like to add onto it, you can put referral codes in, and those will come into the system with the referral code as well as the landing page information.
And just to remind everybody, how do you add a referral code?
It is $R equals, and then whatever your source may be, if it's trucking jobs, truck jobs, whatever that source may be that you want to add that in.
Great. Thank you for that question.
Okay. So just as a quick recap, we are really excited about the automation coming through the system. We were really excited about our user conference, and we're thankful for all of the users that were there. We got a lot of feedback from the conference. A lot of the things that we've gotten from the conference, we've already gone in and changed. One particular thing was in the portal. It would list all of the forms that needed to be completed, but it wasn't showing forms in landscape if they needed to be landscape, and we went ahead and redid that. So that was some feedback we got at the conference from our one-on-ones that we were having with our clients, and we're just kind of taking all of the suggestions that we had, and we're changing the system to make it better. So if anybody has any questions or anything like that, just reach out to your account manager and let us know any changes that you would like, or any kind of questions that you have on the system changes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. There are quite a few questions, so we're going to try to get to all of them. If we don't somehow, if you don't manage to get to yours, we'll get to it after the webinar. We'll just reach out to you individually. But so about the tax forms, the orientation prep, can non-Pulse drivers fill these out too?
Yes, so these will be available in the portal. So any driver that has access to email or text, they don't have to do it in Pulse. If they want to do it in the portal, those will show there.
Okay, great. And for the orientation prep, again, can you tie in multiple tags into the orientation prep so that only W-9s would go out to driver type of owner-operator, for example, and then everyone else would get I-9 and W-4, or?
Not today. So today, it's really an out-of-the-box option. So when you're in here, you can select either a W-4 and an I-9, or a W-9 and an I-9, and it only runs off the orientation date. If you already use forms today, and you would like for us to take a look at it and see if we can help with the process, we can talk about some different options that we would have. But if you have drivers that are both, this would probably be a control that you would want to toggle off.
Okay. And so on the auto signature, will the auto signature only send out the request for employment verifications, or will they still receive a PSP release and other things like that?
So the auto signature sends just like the signature request today. So whenever it goes out today, it sends all of your disclosures and authorizations, as well as for any employment that's added. So when you go in and you do an update, that's going to be what triggers it. And it's going to trigger to send the same signature request that gets sent today when you do it manually. We've just taken all of the clicks out and put the automation in to make your process quicker.
Okay, great. Let's see here. What is the work number part under the automation?
So that is to come soon.
That's coming
That's exciting
soon.
news.
We'll get to learn about that. Actually, that will be in next month's webinar. So you'll have to wait just a little bit for that. Let's see. It's exciting. If we auto-request a signature and the driver has not responded, can we request it again?
Yes, you can. So you can still manually send it if you'd like to, but the automation will send it a couple of times before if the driver does not respond. That's the hold time, so it would hold it for an hour or a week or however long you would like for it.
Okay. And once an employer does go from do not contact to present employer, are they given a green light, or how will they know? How will the system notify them that they can automatically send out the VOE request?
So anything that is in the system under current employer or do not contact, it will not send it. So if you don't go in and change it, the system will obey those rules. But as it always has, if you are at a decision where you're ready to contact the current employer, you can go into your work list, you can go into your driver, and you can go to Process Exchange and use this little checkbox to check all and request the items if you would like to. So you have that option of sending things still manually, or you can let the automation take it and go from there.
Okay, great. And does it send this for the signature request? Does it send to all 10 years of employment or just the 3 years?
That's a configuration option that you have. So you may check with your account manager. It will send based on how you have your releases set up, or your disclosures and authorizations set up in the system. So you'll want to make sure you reach out to your account manager.
Okay. And so if they wanted to add additional forms to the orientation prep, would there be an additional charge?
So today, the orientation prep isn't out of the box. That's the options that we have available. You would definitely want to reach out to your account manager or your advisor. If you're already using forms, it would not be through the automation. It would be a different process that we would set up for you.
Okay, great. And let's see. There's several more questions. We're just going to ask it again because I think people are still concerned about this. Will it auto-request if do not contact was placed on the previous employer that is not a current employer?
It will only look at the current employer.
Okay. And so, let's see. Is there a way to group your applications if you have multiple applications for one owner so you can view them all at once versus pulling each individual one up one at a time? Some way to group them together?
I'm not sure. We'll reach out to you.
We'll reach out to you on that one because we're not sure about that one. So
yeah, we want to make sure we answer the question you're looking for.
Alrighty. Okay. If you did not get your question answered, we apologize. We are going to wrap it up here. We've got maybe time for one more. We just want to make sure that we give you, end right at the bottom of the hour. So, let me see. If you have, so when the auto requests, does it automatically send the verification request for past employment? Is it when they fill out the application, or when does that happen?
So that's in your control. So you'll want to go over to your settings, and you'll want to look at your Exchange controls. And under the auto request, it's going to be whenever a driver hits or an applicant hits an active status that you've designated as, this is the status I want the request to go out for. And again, I will caution to make sure you kind of find your sweet spot, because you don't want those requests to go out too early and get bombarded, but you don't want to wait till the end of the process. You kind of want to find that spot in the middle where you can send those requests out automatically to help you with your process.
Okay, and that's it. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was very informative. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and we really appreciate your time. We're going to send you a recording again within the next 24 hours so you can review this and make sure that you understand all of the exciting changes that we've introduced this week. Watch your login notices for the next. We'll have one more webinar this month, and then we'll have 3 in June to fully disclose all of the exciting announcements that we made at the user conference. So the next webinar will be 2 weeks from today. Watch your login notices, or you can go to the events page on the website and you can register there for that next webinar. Again, though, thank you so much for your time. We know your time is really valuable. We appreciate you joining us today. And if you didn't get your question answered, I will reach out to you afterwards. And if you think of a question later, go ahead and send it to your account manager, or we'll do our best to get you the answers that you need. And I think that's it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.